Hello learners, welcome to week 7 section 3. We have been discussing plurality of culture, plurality of identities. Today we are going to discuss the challenges of living in a culturally pluralistic society. Our country India is a plural society. When we say plural society, we see that there are various people from various religious backgrounds, cultural backgrounds, having different food, way of life, eating different cuisine. In spite of all these plural features, in spite of people from all these different backgrounds having different religions, speaking different languages, eating different cuisine and having different ways of life, we are going to see the bottom line out here. A country like India is still very united in spite of these cultural plural features. However, at the same time, we are going to discuss the challenges of living in a culturally pluralistic society, because with so many people with different lifestyles, different religions, speaking different languages, at times there are challenges of living in a country like India, which is so huge and which is so culturally diverse. So let us discuss how or what are the challenges of living in a culturally pluralistic society. According to Nussbaum, in The Clash Between Democracy, Religious Violence and India's Future, conflict between cultures are in reality a clash between people who are prepared to live with others who are different and those who seek the protection of homogeneity. So this is what Nussbaum says. Let me repeat. According to Nussbaum, Nussbaum says that conflict between cultures are in reality a clash between people who are prepared to live with each other, who are different, and those who seek the protection of homogeneity. Because when we talk about plural society, when we talk about culturally pluralistic society, it is opposed to what is called homogeneity. When we say homogeneity, homogeneous, it means a group having, when we say a group having a homogeneous feature, it means that they are all the same. They speak the same language, they have the same culture, they have the same way of life, they eat the same food, cuisine. But when we talk with as opposed to homogeneous group, there is something called heterogeneity or plurality. Plurality as opposed to homogeneity means, plurality means various, a lot more. So when we talk about culture groups, culture is a way of life. Culture is material as well as non-material culture. I remember I have discussed it in section 1 and section 2. If I have not discussed, then let me repeat again. When we talk about culture, culture is material and non-material culture. Material culture would be the roads, the bridges, the buildings, the architectural wonders that you see with your own eyes. And on the other hand, when we talk about non-material culture consists of ideas, beliefs, knowledge which are passed on from generation to generation. When we talk about cultural groups may differ, but they have to be given their due recognition in society. Guha insists that the differences that have kept India together are many. And when we talk about these features, when we talk about these different cultural groups, yes, there have been times when there have been differences. There have been times when cultural groups cannot exist in the same society or in the same place, in the same region. However, in spite of that, we have the concept of unity in diversity still maintained in India today, and Guha insisted that the forces that have kept India together are many, and individuals, institutions have helped transcend the divisiveness of class and culture and have nullified the predictions that India would not stay united and not stay democratic. So when we talk about forces that have kept India together are the ideas of secularism, the very fact that India is a secular country, the constitution of India which provides fundamental rights, equality irrespective of caste, creed, religion, gender. So there have been a lot of prediction that India would not remain united because there are so many culturally diverse groups. The groups which are so different from each other, the features which are different from each other, like people from the northeast, like I come from the northeast, I look different from people from the north or from the south, or people from the north are so different when they speak the language which is so different from south. However, in spite of all this, in spite of the predictions that India would not stay united and not stay democratic, we see that India still today is the largest democracy in the world. It has maintained what is called unity in diversity. Yes, there has been time when there has been communal tensions, there have been violence because of, between religious groups, different religious groups. However, we have still been able to have this harmony with each other. India is still united. Another challenge before India is that of globalization. There is a lot more interaction and different culture. You have a contact with different culture because of globalization. Will India be able to retain the cultural pluralism against the onslaught of globalization? This is a question that each of us have to ask. And we are still asking, because the richness of Indian cuisine, music, dance and crafts are appreciated across the globe. It is the more subtle aspects of Indian customs and traditions that are being challenged. So when we talk about globalization, what is the challenge that globalization posed to India's culture and traditions? When we talk about globalization, globalization means we are in fact affected by what is going around us. We are adapting or adopting certain cultures which are from the west or from the east. And the question that we have to ask, and we have been asking, is the Indian custom and traditions being challenged or threatened by this globalization? And when we talk about this aspects of Indian customs and traditions that have been challenged, it would be, the respect we have for the elders, or the arranged marriage which we have been having for a lot from centuries, for many years, if not century. When we talk about the marriage system, when we talk about this concept of respecting the elder, there are certain changes which we have seen come because of globalization. A lot of people now prefer love marriage. A lot of people now, do not have that respect that they used to have to the elder population, to the elders. So this is the subtle aspects of Indian customs and traditions that are being challenged, and also in terms of rituals, religious ceremonies, the customs. there are certain aspects of customs where a lot of young generation today do not believe in this customs. They do not want to follow this custom, saying that it is a very age-old practice, and it is not modern, and it is not up to date. So all these subtle aspects of Indian customs and traditions are being challenged and being threatened. Traditions are being questioned, which is to some aspect is good, for it encourage students to explore and understand the deeper meaning of custom and traditions, like why should we respect our elders? Should elder be respected just because they are old? So when we talk about cultures and traditions being threatened, then yes, at times it is good, where we where we challenge this age-old customs and traditions, the tradition of respecting the elders, the tradition of following certain customs, the preferred custom of arranged marriage. Why should I go for arranged marriage? Why should I get married to someone that I don't really know, just because my parents have fixed my marriage for me? So when we question these traditions, yes, to some extent it is good to explore the customs, the traditions, the ideas, the deeper meaning behind these traditions. However, there are certain traditions like where superstitions, where you should not believe in what is called superstitions. You should not believe in black magic. These are certain aspects of traditions that you can question, and you can live without. Then of course it is always advisable to allow the student to ask such questions, and then guide the student to arrive at her own decision based on what he or she values. Therefore, in lesson plans, time for such explanatory activities should be organized. For example, the question of why should we respect our elders? Why should we follow the tradition of respect to the elders? Students should be explained, should be told that the elders are an asset to our society. The knowledge, the wisdom that they have is priceless. These wisdom and knowledge can be passed on to the next generation, and our elders, our grandparents, our parents who are aging, who are getting old, are the ones who are taking care of us, and it is because of them that we are here today. And this very aspect of our parents or our grandparents who took care of us and who nurtured us to become what we are today is the value, is the lesson which we have to inculcate in the young generation. When we talk about globalization, when we talk about influence of global culture, we have fashion, dress, food, films, music, which are having a global impact across the world. Just as Hollywood films have an impact, and also Bollywood films are also having a huge impact on the way we dress, the way we talk, the way we speak. However, one has to be very cautious of how we follow these impact of global culture, especially films, because we have to know that there are certain aspects in these films, that is Hollywood and Bollywood films, there are certain aspects which we cannot blindly follow, which we have to be very cautious about. For example, certain films will depict a superhero trying to fly, a superhero having super strength. So if children copy these superhero antics blindly, without any proper safety measures, then they can get themselves hurt. and also when it comes to fashion, when it comes to dress, you should copy these, looking at what your economic structure is. You cannot just dress according to what you see in the Hollywood films or in the Bollywood films and pressurize your parents or pressurize yourself to live according to the lifestyle which are seen in these films, because your economic background or the culture that you come, the cultural background from which you come from may not be in tune with these actors or celebrities who portray these in the film. So you have to be careful about what you copy, how you act. Consequently, we retain our cultural plurality, and at the same time we do follow certain global patterns of consumption, and in balancing these lies the challenges as we retain our cultural identity despite the impact of globalization. So when we talk about influence of global culture in films or in food or in dress and so on, we do follow certain aspects because of the impact of global culture. However, we also have to balance the identity, the cultural identity that we have. We cannot just, for example, we are a society which is very diverse in traditions. We have age-old customs, and just because of globalization, we cannot just blindly follow what is, what you see in the Western culture, the way they act, the way they dress, or the way they have this concept of they do not believe in marriages and so on and so forth. There are certain aspects that, yes, Western culture is very good in so many ways, but we have to maintain this cultural identity where we have age-old customs, where we so many cultural identity which makes us Indians. So we have to balance what to follow, what are the consequences of blindly following other cultures. We have to maintain a unique cultural identity. When we talk about various values, compassion, equality, tolerance, acceptance, appreciation and adjustment are some of the underlying values necessary for safeguarding the cultural pluralistic society of India. Indians are very aesthetic and eager to know of the dance, music, songs, food, clothes and crafts of other culture. Formal or informal gatherings are usually incomplete without a cultural program. So these are our age-old customs, our age-old traditions, where formal or informal gatherings has music, it has cultural program, and also a lot of people participating in these festivals, in these marriage ceremonies. And when we talk about the values which binds our Indian culture, it would be compassion, equality, tolerance, acceptance, appreciation, adjustment. And these are the values which we have to follow in spite of a lot of influence, a lot of impact of globalization. These are the values which we should inculcate in the future generation, because India, like I said in the beginning, is a diverse country with so many diverse cultural groups, and we have these beautiful traditions of observing festival, marriage ceremonies, where huge huge dance programs, or a lot of food, a lot of fun and frolic is there in our festival. So these traditions of social gatherings where people come together irrespective of their caste, religion, creed should be respected and should be continued. Students are to be encouraged to discuss differences and similarities. What are the cultures which are to be preserved and why, and also they should be told what are the values underlying cultural pluralism, and there should be certain activities in the schools, in colleges, where students from different cultural groups should come together and should be encouraged to discuss the differences, what are the similarities, what are the unique features of their own culture. So when we talk about today's lesson, yes, there are challenges in a culturally pluralistic society like India because of globalization, because of westernization, and with so much of technology coming in. However, there are certain aspects of our culture which has to be protected, which has to be preserved, which has to be passed on to the younger generation, and the younger generation should also be made to preserve this culture of unity in diversity. So with this particular class and lecture, I have completed week 7, where we discuss culture, plural identities, and the challenges of living in a pluralistic society. Thank you so much.